Welcome back to Self-Help. Today we are going to be talking about the avoidance cycle and how to get yourself out of it. So one of the biggest issues... I want to go to the grocery store to get some groceries. Sound like I'm from Pennsylvania. Anyway, one of the biggest issues with social anxiety and with caring too much about what other people think about you is that it usually leads to avoidance, and that will get you stuck. Basically, you get nervous and stressed about a certain social situation, and so you just avoid it altogether, and you avoid any possible way that that interaction could happen. And then pretty soon that might expand, and then you're avoiding more and more things, and it's going to interfere with your regular life. And this is how it becomes a cycle. You start feeling anxious or stressed out about a certain social situation, whether it's, going to a party or talking to some person. So what might happen is then you just avoid it altogether. You just don't do it. From there, you're going to feel some sweet, sweet relief because you're not in that situation anymore. You've removed yourself from the anxiety-provoking situation. And then, in a way, you're kind of reinforcing yourself or almost rewarding yourself for not doing something, like for avoiding something, because not only are you not stressed, but you're relieved. Exactly right. And so there's this cycle, because the next time that comes around or that same situation pops up, what are you going to do? You're going to avoid it, because your brain is trained to think, oh, if I avoid, then it's going to be really relieving and I'm not going to have to face the scary situation, and let's do that. So we're going to talk about how you can actually break out of this cycle.
We were kind of talking about this already in the past videos where you and I won't just go up to people and introduce ourselves.
Right.
And that's how we've literally always been. And so we have always been in that avoidance cycle, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I'll try to break it here and there, but it's really hard. I know that this is true because I literally live,
yeah. I think you're hitting an important point where we've avoided it, so it's just become almost kind of second nature for us.
Yeah, I just don't do that.
Right. and then sometimes you're able to break it, but it's not, it doesn't get as comfortable.
If there's someone with me that maybe even knows the person I'm trying to talk to, then I'll be like, oh, my name is Brooklyn. There are only certain ways I can break off from the cycle.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm thinking, too, that it really just takes a lot of practice to get comfortable and confident with it. I'm remembering a time in my life where I was in front of people a lot, and I was involved in a lot of things where I was having to constantly force myself to initiate conversations and introduce myself and things. And I feel like at that point in my life, it got to the point where it wasn't even an issue for me. And I've fallen out of practice, and so now it's kind of come back where it's a little anxiety provoking, but I do remember a time when I was practicing it a lot, and it didn't bother me one bit. And I think that practice or that consistency is going to be the key. And along with this avoidance cycle, by the time I see people in the clinics that I work in, it's usually that this cycle is no longer maintainable. They cannot sustain this way of life anymore. It's just interfering with their regular life too much to where they might be sitting at home all day, or they might just not interact with anyone and they get really depressed, whatever it might be. So we're going to talk about how to pull ourselves out of it. And there's really one great way to do it, and that is exposure. So exposure is basically a fancy way of saying that you're going to face your fears. And the idea behind it is that if you expose yourself to what you're afraid of and you realize, oh, this isn't actually anything to be afraid of, then over time and with practice, you're going to feel more and more comfortable with it. It's like riding a scary roller coaster. You're standing in line, you're pooping your pants, you're terrified of it, and then by the time you actually go on it, by the end of it, you're usually like, oh, that wasn't so bad. That was pretty fun. Let's do it again. It's drastically different than how you were feeling standing in line, looking at it, and feeling terrified. So it's really just riding the roller coaster or practicing it and exposing yourself to it, facing your fears, so that it becomes more and more comfortable. It's important to note that exposure can often be a lot and be kind of stressful. And usually it's done with a trained professional or a licensed therapist. And if you can find one in your area that's suitable for you, great. They'll be able to help you out. We'll give you guys some tips and strategies you can use to try it on your own. But just know that oftentimes there are professionals who are trained in this and are very willing to help. So first, you're going to list out all the social interactions or all the situations that make you feel nervous and anxious. List everything you can, like talking with a friend that you've lost contact with, to initiating a conversation with a stranger, to presenting in front of a class, to performing for an audience, whatever it might be. Write it all down, and then you're going to rate each of these different scenarios or situations based on how scary they are to you or how anxiety-provoking they are to you. So now you have this list of different scenarios that make you feel anxious and nervous, and you've rated them on how terrifying they are for you. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to create or draw a little fear ladder. I'll put one right here. Yep, here's our fear ladder. With the fear ladder, you're going to have things that are not that anxiety-provoking here at the bottom of the fear ladder. All the way up, each step is going to have different scenarios to where it's the thing at the very top that you're most afraid of or that seems to be the most anxiety-provoking. And so each step gets progressively a little more intense or a little more scary for you. And so you have the easiest thing and the hardest thing at the top. And basically what you do is that you practice each of these different steps, gradually expose yourself to these different scenarios. And the more that you're able to go through them and realize, hey, I survived and I didn't die and they didn't throw eggs at me and I'm okay, then the more comfortable you're going to get with those and the less fearful they're going to become. So you start with the easiest thing at the bottom of the ladder, and then once you practice that and you feel a little more comfortable with it, then you move up to the next one. And you do it again, do the whole process where you start out and you put yourself in that situation or you do it. So for example, maybe you're afraid to talk to an old friend who you've lost contact with. So what you do for that first step is that you just do that over and over. You find old friends, maybe deep in your Facebook archives, and you connect with them or you try to reach out to them. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you're going to get, and then you'll be fine with it. And then you move up to the next one.
It's like checked off.
Yeah, check it off the list. Bing. And then you move up to the next one, whatever it might be. You expose yourself to it. You put yourself in that situation all the way up to we're at a party and we just start going up to random people saying, hey, my name's Cam. What's your name? What do you like to do? Ugh. Even just saying that kind of freaks me right out. But it's okay. So we're going to do it. We're going to do this for all the parties that I go to. No, I don't even know when I'd be able to practice it. I'd have to maybe in classes I'm in, like talking to people I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like,
or like
the
people in line.
I go with to parties are the ones that do it for me. They're always like, hey, my name's so-and-so, and this is my friend so-and-so. What's your name?
Right. So
maybe
to feel more comfortable with it, we're just going to have to, change the situation so that it's us doing it. We'll do it for you guys. We'll let you know how it goes. Maybe. Basically, you just move yourself up the ladder and practice and expose yourself to whatever you feel makes you nervous. You're basically just needing to show yourself that, hey, I can do it. Retrain your brain to show it that it's going to be okay. Like, I can do this and it's fine. Instead of the brain thinking, we have to avoid it. We have to, get away from this situation and then never doing it. So put yourself in those situations and you're going to find that it's going to get easier. You're going to feel more confident and it'll get better.
If I take these steps to get up, so like, let's say you want to get all the way up to the top of the ladder to kind of conquer your fears and honestly just make your social situations better, because that's probably what you want to be doing if you're feeling this way.
Right.
And it's kind of just a checklist, like, oh, I can get up there if I do these things and work my way up. So to me, I like that because I like checking off lists and it's satisfying to me. So I think that thinking of it as a to-do list would be really good. Yeah,
I think you actually hit a really important point, which is how this is kind of a gradual process where I'm not telling you like, hey, go talk to a bunch of random people at a party, but you're starting
start somewhere.
Start small. Exactly. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to follow Brooklyn on Instagram, I'm going to link her profile into the description below. Be sure to tune in to the next video where we're going to actually go over some social skills. Some things that you can remember so that you can use them in social interactions to feel a little bit better and a little more confident. We'll see you there.